Hello, hello, hello! It's time for a Sunday interview, my favourite time of the week. First of all, my latest addition, it's my vision board. I finally managed to get my vision board on the wall, which is amazing. And that I had to share with you. That is the reason we're doing this video. No, it's not the reason we're doing the video. We're doing the video because we'll have an interview with the amazing, fantastic, super cool Paula Cohen, who unfortunately, there we go, couldn't add her before I went live, but it seems like I can add her right now. In fact, it says adding as we speak. So, Paula is something like a superhero. I have to use the male version just because I can't pronounce the female version of a hero, being German and all. She's like your personal hero when it comes to getting organized, stop faffing about, and finally, oh yeah, so stop faffing and start focusing is actually the title of one of her workshops. And I find that as a very appropriate title. And without further ado, meet the lovely Paula. Hello, Paula.
Hello. You hear me okay?
Yes, I can hear you. Can everyone else out there hear you? Probably. We have quite a few watchers. Hello, people. As usual, if you like, there's a little heart. If you like what you hear, send us keep them coming, keep the hearts and the thumbs and everything coming. And if you have any friends that stop or that keep complaining about how busy they are and how they never get anything done, then feel free to share the video as well, because I'm sure Paula will share some pieces of wisdom that are good for everyone. Cool. How are you, Paula?
I'm very well, thank you. Very well.
Cool. I made the most epic, just have to say it, the most epic Sunday roast today. For me, that is a really big thing because I'm not a cook and I don't come from a cooking family. So every time I actually produce an edible meal, I'm very excited.
Good. Can't beat a good Sunday roast though, can you? Let's face it.
Yeah. Oh, someone shared it. Thank you for sharing the video. Keep them sharing. Right, so let's get. Oh no, sorry, Paula. Why don't you introduce yourself a little bit more and tell people who you are, what you do, and how you got into what you're doing?
Okay. So my name is Paula Cohen, as you can tell. I run my own business, which is called Tailory, and that all stems from old family names and things like that. Choosing a business name is kind of a challenging thing, so I can talk to you about that later. But I've been working as a business coach I'm just coming into my 10th year now. I originally started off with a coaching franchise, so a company called Action Coach. Completed my 7-year license with them, which ran to August 2015. And since then, I have been out on my own doing it kind of my way, which I have to say I really enjoy. I really like the freedom, the flexibility, and just the ability to do it completely and utterly my way is something that I really enjoy. So I work with various different shapes and sizes of businesses. So I've got some quite large clients, but I also work with some real baby businesses. Some of them are just one-person businesses. Sometimes they're startups. And I guess over the years, one of the things that I've found to be really common amongst people running their own business, but to be honest, amongst everybody in the world, is that faffing is something of an art form. And I suppose through working with clients on that and looking into that more myself, I've kind of developed a few tools and techniques and tips and things like that to help people. So does that answer your questions, Claudia?
Yeah, no, definitely. No, I was just going to ask, but then you did it as well, because you said you mainly work with businesses, but as you said, I guess the techniques and to actually get your head in order and just get on with it is really relevant for everyone, for a busy stay-at-home mom or an employed banker, and it's just really relevant for everyone.
Yes.
Cool. No, it definitely answered my question.
Excellent. The last workshop that I ran, I think was about 3 weeks ago, one of the ladies that came along to that was not running a business. She's employed at the moment. But she's actually in the process of taking redundancy, and she said, I've got all these plans, but I don't know how to get them organised. So she came along and sort of took away lots of tips and ideas. So yes, I do work with businesses and business people.
Cool. No, I'm very excited. I even have my notepad and pen ready. So I'm hoping for some pieces of wisdom because yeah, I think we all have that problem. And yeah, that brings me to the first question. I think it was, I'm really sorry, I think it was Natasha's question. I'm really sorry, I didn't write down who asked it. But are there any special tips and tricks around people that are working from home? Because yeah, especially I'm working at home, and the thing you possibly even have a few more distractions than you have in an office. Well, I guess, but you can't really generalize that. But yeah, you know, there's this whole, oh, I better do some ironing, or the doorbell rings, or you have all these little things that just take you out. So are there any?
Laundry. The laundry is the big one. Whether it's washing, ironing it, taking it out the washer into the dryer, all that laundry. Now is all consuming when you work from home. Yes.
And it's interesting how these household chores look so much more appealing if you should be doing something else. I always find that fascinating.
Yes, and then at the weekend, suddenly those household chores which have taken all your attention during the week when you weren't supposed to be doing them, suddenly they're not attractive at all at the weekend, are they? Are you?
Yeah, so are there any tips or tricks for people, or especially for people that are working from home?
Yes, gosh, so many to be honest. There can be quite a unique tip for people working from home, which is helping other people to understand that when you're working from home, you are actually working. Because one of the biggest challenges can be a husband, wife, partner, business partner, whoever that is, that thinks that because you're at home, you're more available. So they can just ask you to, can you just pick this up? Can you just get that? Can you just take the cat to the vet? Could you just do this, this and this? And they don't necessarily take what you're doing quite as seriously as you want to be taking it. So sometimes it does involve a little bit of a conversation, shall we say, an open conversation with people who kind of steal your time a little bit, to educate them and just ask them for a little bit more support and a little bit more consideration towards what you're doing from home. So that's kind of one tip that may well come in handy. One of the other key things is structure. Structure is something that, whether you work from home, from an office, whatever your working arrangement is, having some kind of structure in terms of how you use your time is probably one of the most significant things that you can do to actually keep track of that time. So even if you work with deadlines and things like that, so you know, it may be that those domestic chores do need doing today and it's the only chance you're going to get to do them. But if that is the case, then at least give yourself a deadline. So I'm going to do X, Y, Z for 15 minutes or 30 minutes, and do it as a, well, actually, I'm going to take a lunch period. You may or may not take an hour. But actually give yourself dedicated time to do those things. And then at the opposite times, when it's now work time, then basically just don't allow those distractions to creep in. I guess the biggest single lesson I would give to anybody when it comes to understanding how to kind of stop faffing and take more control of your time is to understand that actually we can't control time at all. The whole concept of time management is a complete myth. And I think this is one of the biggest challenges, that we kind of, you know, we read all these things where there's all these articles and books and guides, gurus that seem to suggest that we should be able to manage our time, and that if we can't, we're just, you know, we're a bit disorganised or a bit sloppy or we're faffers. But the simple fact is, we've got 24 hours in every day, and we've got 60 minutes in every hour and 60 seconds in every minute. We actually can't control any of that at all. So the whole concept of time management is a complete myth. It's a big fat red herring. But what we can manage is us. So when we really get to grips with the fact that time management is actually just about taking responsibility, that's a real pivotal change for most people. It's recognizing that every minute of the day we can actually make a conscious choice about what to do with our time. So when we do get that phone call, can you just do this? Or when we see that massive pile of laundry or whatever it is, we just need to educate ourselves to just pause and to ask ourselves whether that's the right priority right now, and take responsibility for what we do with our time. That's the biggest single change that I think any of us could make, and that will cover working from home or any other environment.
Yeah, yeah, no, that is it's very true. Just the first point you made, that help people understand that when you're at home, you're actually working.
Yeah,
Because while you said that, I was like, oh yeah, if I only did that, then that person wouldn't talk to me, and
yeah.
it just makes so much sense already. And yeah, it's also quite interesting that you say that time is the same for everyone, and just because I
Yeah.
manage it doesn't make it go any faster or slower. So that it makes a lot of sense.
All about choice.
The next question was from Jane. I remember that much. What's your go-to strategy to stop faffing around and just get on with it?
There's
That
probably
$1 million question.
there's probably two, I think, key ones. In fact, there's so many. The two, and I've just looked at some other notes and distracted myself now. My go-to strategy.
Okay.
Yes. So the two that I would look at is either a deadline. So actually, a little bit like I talked about there before, if you kind of know you're getting sucked into something, and a lot of those things can be things like social media or dealing with your emails, customer requests, Facebook Messenger stuff, that kind of thing, is to actually set a deadline. I'm going to do this for the next 15 minutes, but then I'm actually going to stop. But sometimes also there is that element where if you've got a list that's as long as your arm and you just feel like, I just don't know what to do first, and I completely feel overwhelmed and I just can't get going because I think I need to do that one first, but I also need to do that one and then that one and that one, and that just leads to almost like complete mental explosion. Then actually my go-to strategy there is just pick one and do it. Don't worry about having to choose. You know, the books will say, choose the one thing that's the most important thing to move you forward right now. But when you feel overwhelmed, you can't actually answer that question. So don't stress about that. Just choose something to do, even if it's something dead simple and quite insignificant. But the fact that you actually get something done, cross it off the list, gets you back into action mode. So just get into taking some action instead of just kind of panicking and obsessing about the stuff that's on the list.
Yeah. What I found, and this is an insight into my life, I bought myself like a fun hourglass. It's time for 30 minutes. And every time I feel like, no, I really want to check Facebook or do something that is absolutely non-beneficial for my business, I put this on, and as soon as the clock's up, I'm like, okay, that's it. We're back to business.
Yeah.
So there you go. There's eBay for $5.
I think the other thing actually to bear in mind with that is that quite often we place this expectation on ourselves that we should be 100% focused 100% of the time, but we're not built that way. You know, human beings are not built to be 100% focused 100% of the time. So actually giving yourself small breaks, a little bit of downtime, some slightly more mundane tasks to do to break up the more kind of intensive high pressure things that you have to do will also boost your productivity as well, and it kind of just breaks up the day a little bit as well. So a little bit of faff is actually okay.
Yeah, and I guess if you're relaxed as opposed to your results are probably a lot better, and especially if you're writing a marketing text or something that has to sound really cool, and you know, if you're writing it under pressure,
yes,
I always think that reads through. People can read it. So
yeah. And sometimes it's also about looking at, if you've got a list of things to do that are like that, that's quite intense, isn't it? It's quite you've got to be really on it to get that kind of work done. So if you've got 4 or 5 things like that to do in a day, then you almost need to look for what is the more trivial, mentally less demanding stuff that you then put in as a filler. So you kind of do the really focused stuff, then you do something else that's a bit mundane, a bit lowbrow, to just give yourself the chance to kind of refresh mentally and then go back to the intense stuff again. Whereas what a lot of people do is they'll say, I'm going to do all of those marketing pieces first thing, and it's just too much. We'd actually just set ourselves too big a challenge. So break those things up a little bit, do the kind of really focused things, and then intersperse that with slightly more chilled out activities, shall we say.
Cool. Just a note in between. If you have any questions, those people watching, just type them straight away. We'll pick them up and ask them on the way. I have a question because I'm a big fan of to-do lists, and I always have one. But there are days when you're working, well, you feel like you're really busy, but yet you'll never get anything done that's on your list.
Yeah.
Help!
Okay. So lists in general is a really meaty topic, and I'll kind of talk you through my list strategy, and that hopefully that will answer your question
Please.
in a circuitous way. So I would always recommend that you have two lists, and one of them is the kind of the everything that ever needs doing list, which you might also term as the list of everything that just basically sits in your head. And keeps you awake at night, the stuff that's constantly going around in there. Some of it's really important, some of it's really trivial. But while it's all in there, it's kind of out of control, and it all adds to the pressure and the overwhelm. So I would have, like I say, the everything that ever needs doing list. And that in itself can be quite frightening for some people, because quite often that list will run to 3, 4, 5 pages. But at least then it's out of your head, and you don't have that stress of it all bouncing around in there. But then what I would recommend that you do is you have a daily to-do list. So you go through the big list of everything that ever needs doing, and then your ideal scenario is that you make it the last thing you do on a working day. Now, I know obviously some of your ladies are not necessarily in business, but you'd still relate it to what you class as the end of your focus time, shall we say, during that day. And make your list for tomorrow at that point only with the things that you genuinely think you're going to be able to get done tomorrow. So there's a few different things that go on. One is the fact that typically we're just far too optimistic about how much we can actually achieve in a day. So most people put about 2 days worth of stuff onto that list, then wonder why they can never get it done. But we're also very...
They've got a lot of heart.
Yeah.
So clearly people can relate.
Yeah. We're very optimistic about how long things take. So if you think about, like you talked about a marketing piece there, that's the classic that people think, oh, well, I've got that thing to write, it's going to take me 15 minutes and it might take them an hour. If you've got a complicated email to write, people expect that to take 20 or 30 minutes, and that will often take an hour. Oh, I'm going to allocate 15 minutes for those phone calls, that's half an hour to an hour. So starting to get a real grip of how long things genuinely take, and then being able to create a list of stuff that's actually achievable, is also a huge step forward. It's not something you can do overnight. That's something to do over a period of time, and really assess how long things take. So look down your list at the end of the day and say, well, actually, I thought that would take this long, and it took twice as long. And then you start to get to grips with, if I do that, that, and that, that's 3 hours, not 35 minutes, or whatever it is. So getting to grips with how long things take you is really good. But then also with the to-do list, there's 3 really great reasons why you should do the to-do list as the last thing you do of your working day. You write that list for tomorrow. So one of those reasons is the fact that you then just actually give yourself permission to switch off. And if you work from home, or if you're running a business, it's easy for that to just take over your life. It just sort of seeps in. It's like it's got tentacles. And a lot of people really struggle to switch off. And especially, we're so accessible these days with all the different communication methods that it is really hard to switch off. But if you do that to-do list, it actually says, right, work's finished for today. I'm not going to think about it. I'm not going to stress or obsess about it. I'm going to actually let myself chill and relax. And then you recharge your batteries properly. The second reason is that our subconscious brain is phenomenally powerful. It's really the thing that's running the show. It's responsible for pretty much 95% of everything we do and everything we think. And so when you complete that to-do list today as the list for tomorrow, you basically gift that to your subconscious brain, and it will process everything for you overnight. So you know the old saying that if you sleep on things, they all become clearer in the morning. Then when you plant that seed on that to-do list, overnight your subconscious slots it beautifully into place, and then come the next morning, the big things don't seem quite so daunting or so intimidating. It will all seem a lot easier. And then the third reason for doing that to-do list, the last thing of the day, is that the first 20 minutes of your day will generally set the tone for the whole day. So if the first 20 minutes are what am I got to do today, which bit of laundry I've got to do, how much ironing have I got to do, how many emails, what meetings, where am I going, what have I got to do, who am I supposed to talk to, if the first 20 minutes is like that, then that's probably the tone for the rest of the day, and it's going to feel a little bit disorganised and a little bit panicked. Whereas if you've got that to-do list that says this is item 1 and you just get straight into that groove, then that means that your productivity is off to a great start, and you're likely to find that it will maintain a lot more like that through the day. So that's probably one of my biggest tips, is daily to-do lists. Strip them right back to only what you think you can genuinely achieve, so you can burn it or throw it out the window or whatever it is at the end of the day. And do that the night before. That will make a really big difference.
Cool. No, that sounds good, and it's interesting that you mentioned the subconscious mind, because I'm a massive, well, I'm not a massive believer. Well, I am a massive believer, but that just it's science and it's true.
Yeah.
So yeah, I never looked at it that way, and actually, now that you say it, because sometimes there are days when you just write down, oh, I need to do this tomorrow. You know, I don't plan to do it tomorrow. Well, I plan to do it tomorrow, but I didn't plan to make a to-do list for tomorrow. But actually, you're right. The next day you start your day and you're already like prepared, and you're like, oh yeah, I know today I'm going to do this.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah.
it's a good tip. We got a question from Colette, who was our interview guest last week, I think. And she's a very busy lady, I know that. She has lots of ideas, but finds it hard to execute and how to execute. And she also finds it hard to switch off.
Yeah.
So it sounds like there's a bit of overwhelm happening, like all ideas at once.
Yes. I would say obviously that the to-do list strategy would hopefully help with that. So that getting everything out of your head and the big master list of everything that ever needs doing with your daily to-do list, that can potentially help. What quite often is the reason for that kind of thing, when there's tons of ideas and the lack of execution, is quite often there's a bit of a lack of a clear plan. So having a clear plan that helps you understand exactly what your priorities are is makes them a lot more likely to happen. So sometimes things don't happen because we're not quite sure how much of a priority it is. It's often that we lose track of what the point is. So can you clearly relate what the outcome of that activity will be? Can you see and relate a result to it? And if there's a deadline that you can also relate to that, all those steps will just create more clarity as to why you're doing it and when to do it. Now, what it also may be is that a lot of people running their own business are squirrel chasers, shall we say. They're people who love new ideas.
Shiny object syndrome. Yeah.
Object syndrome, absolutely, yes. I do squirrel chasing. Ooh, squirrel.
Guilty.
most of us are, to be fair. So getting to grips with what are our squirrels, what are the shiny things, what are the things that do most obviously, most frequently come in and distract us, can really help as well. So for Colette, if she's got a list of things there, what is it she tends to do instead? Can she actually identify what are the things that come in and get in the way? And it might be that she's doing easy stuff because you can tick that off the list, and we love to see things ticked off the list. It may be that she just needs a little more structure, or that she needs a clearer plan, or it may be that she needs to kind of come back to the very first point and remember that she's got the opportunity to make a choice. Everything that she does, every minute of every day, you have the option to make a choice. So just pause and actually make a conscious choice about what to do with your time.
That sounds good to me. And that's possibly a subject for a completely different interview or another interview. But how would you start getting that plan? So if you have all these ideas, just something like a bottle of wine and some piece of paper and some brainstorming, or
wine. Honestly, wine is very helpful for business planning. Sometimes
that's like the solution for everything.
Let the juices flow. And yeah, just literally get it all out there and go with the flow. I guess for somebody who doesn't have a plan, the first thing I would normally ask them is, what would you like your life or your business to look like in 12 months' time? If you literally put yourself into a day in your business at that point, what do you want it to look like? And that's not necessarily in the sense of how much turnover you want in the business or any of that facts and figures stuff. It's literally, who do you want to be working with on a typical day? How many clients do you want to be working with on a typical day? What sort of things do you want to be doing with those clients? How many hours do you want to be working? So actually think of the personal setup. What do I want my life to look like? And how do I then want the business to fit in with that? Then you can start to kind of bring it back step by step. So if I want my life to look like that, what does that mean I need to earn financially? So then how many customers do I need, and how much those customers need to be paying, and what products will they be buying? And then again, you peel that back. So if I want that kind of customers, how do I need to change my targeting? If I want them to buy that kind of product, what do I need to do about developing that particular product? But I would always say, start with that. What do I want my life to look like? And then start to bring it backwards. Because I think we all start from now, and then we kind of go, so what do I do about marketing, and what do I do about customers, and what do I do about products? Whereas actually, it's the old Stephen Covey stuff, start with the end in mind. But that also then, it gives you the purpose to everything. So everything is linked to a real personal goal, a personal passion. And strangely, it's a lot more motivating to get the relevant stuff done when you recognise what the personal benefit will be for you at the end of that.
Yeah, what you're doing it for. Now that's powerful stuff. No, because I was just finding myself in everything you said, because yeah, it's true when you first, especially when you first start a business. But I remember that as well when I had to plan events for when I was still working in an office. You were just like, oh, I need to do this, I need to do that, and blah, 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 and you just go into all directions. But you might get into the general direction of where you want to go, but you don't even really know where that is. So yeah, it's good. I like that. Yeah, maybe have a vision board.
Absolutely. Yeah, vision boards are really good. Well, vision boards, of course, are all about the subconscious mind. So
well, I put it in iHide when I'm sitting there, hoping it will work. Do you, not the personal question, I guess. So, if there are any more questions, ask them, because there's always a bit of a delay in between you typing and us actually seeing the questions. Do you personally believe in default diaries? So have one of those where you say Monday between 12 and 2, I'm going to do this, and Tuesdays between...
Yes, we could do another hour on this, to be honest.
Okay.
Yes, I do believe in default diaries, but I also believe that you have to find the way to make it work for you. What most people do is they hear about the concept, they create an amazing default diary, and it's got every single minute of every day perfectly planned out. By about 10:30 on Monday, it's all gone completely out of the window. So yes, I would look at it in a really simple way, and look at things like the most simple stuff being, how do you want to start your day and how do you want to end the day? Because that's where you can start to build some real consistency. Have a little routine for how you start, a little routine for how you finish, and do your to-do list for tomorrow. And then just look at leaving it quite flexible for me. So put in all the stuff that you absolutely want to do, the things that you never get round to. There's a much bigger chance of you doing the stuff that you never get round to if it's in that default diary. So if that's your publishing content on social media, writing your blog, doing your own marketing, those are classic things that people often don't get round to. Might be writing that About Me page on your website, because most people in business are putting that off for about 300 years. But it could be anything that you never get round to. So give that a chunk of time in there. But you still have to recognise that there needs to be some flexibility in that. Life and business is not a beautifully predictable thing. It would be great if it was, but it just isn't. So it might even be that you put in something like an hour a day for contingency, stuff that happens. Well, that's getting done in that hour there. So at least if something comes in and knocks you off track, you've got a decision. Well, actually, I've got my slot there this afternoon that I can use for that. Rather than, right, I've got to react to it straight away now and everything else is out the window. but also use that default diary in the way that if something does come in and totally take over and it absolutely has to be a priority right now, then the default diary is almost a series of jigsaw pieces. So if this jigsaw piece that's supposed to be getting done now can't get done now, then you can move it somewhere else in the week, rather than thinking, well, that's just gone out the window, I don't know what to do about it. So use it with some flexibility. I would say don't try and cram in every minute of every day. I've seen some of them with, 15-minute blocks, and it just makes it impossible. But yes, there is definitely an advantage to them if you're a little bit chilled out about it, I think.
Yeah. That makes a lot of sense, no, because someone told me you need to have a default diary, and then I was one of the people you just described. So I was like,
Yeah.
okay, from 8 to 9:30, I walk the dog, and and then as soon as you're 1 minute behind one thing, you're like, oh. So yeah, the way you just described it makes a lot more sense and makes it a lot less threatful.
It did.
I guess.
I think also you can use your default diary for personal things as well. So, if you're one of those classic people, for instance, who's always working and never gets a chance to go to the gym, well, put that into your default diary. If you're constantly running around and trying to squeeze in your supermarket visit at some point, put that into your default diary. Put your laundry in there. Who knows? But, the personal important things to you, if you're constantly saying you're going to go and spend more time with friends and family, you never get around to it, put it in your default diary. So make it work for you.
Yeah. That makes sense. Makes so much sense. Yeah, and it just shows again that you always have to take these things and make them work for you. Because
absolutely,
just because someone says this is the number one go-to strategy, you have to do this, it still has to work with you. Because if you can't really use it, or if there's some part of you that's like, no, that doesn't work for me. It's
we're all different. See, even things like to-do lists that I've spoken about there. I know that there are some people that hate the whole concept of to-do lists, or they just hate the phrase to-do lists. And if that's the case, then just call it anything you like. I was having this conversation with somebody yesterday, and they said, I'm just going to call it my get shit done list. It's fine. Doesn't matter what you call it. Things to action, stuff, doesn't matter. So don't get hung up on, what the books tell you is the perfect time management technique. Just find a way to make it work for you. And if something doesn't quite work, that doesn't necessarily mean that you can't make it work. It just means that you haven't found quite the right strategy for you yet.
Yeah. Cool. So there's hope for everyone.
Definitely.
If there are no questions, still have quite a few viewers. So to sum it up, you said the important things are structure. So to know what you're doing and just plan. Don't just start and go like, right, I'm ready, but actually think about what you want to do. Then take responsibility for your time.
Totally.
So know that you're in charge, and I guess that it's okay to say no when people try and distract you. It's always a good one.
Yes.
And the last one, get your priorities right. Yeah. So just set priorities, I guess.
Yeah. Have them clear and stick to those buggers.
Cool.
Okay.
I don't think there are any more questions. So Paula, thank you very much. I made 2 pages of notes because I absolutely loved it. It was very, very helpful and insightful and super informative. And I will share it far and wide because loads of people need to hear your message. Where can people, or have you got anything coming up, or where can people get in touch if they want to get?
Yes, they can find me. I have a Facebook page and an Instagram page where I'm constantly putting hints and tips on. So those are both Paula @Tailory, which is the surname Taylor with a Y on the end. You can come and find me on LinkedIn, and I am the Stop Faffing workshop. I actually run that every 3 months. So the next one is the 27th of April. I've actually just missed one. 27th of April in Cheshire. So if anybody's interested in that, it's half day. It's a bargain, 75 quid. So I don't think I have a booking page ready for it yet, actually, thinking about it. But yeah, all the people that go on my Facebook page anyway. So yeah, more than happy for people to come along and join me on Facebook.
Cool. I'll add the links in the comments. And thank you everyone for watching. Thank you, Paula, for your time. And I'll see you all soon.
Bye.
Bye-bye.